Is there a mental health crisis on Vancouver streets? One trip down Hastings near Maine would have most people saying yes. So it is no surprise Vancouver Mayor Gregor Robertson and Police Chief Jim Chu want some help because the situation isn't getting any better.
We must not stigmatize those with mental illnesses. However, a very small proportion commit violent crimes, and we've definitely noticed a disturbing trend in the last year.
We're talking about thousands, up to 3,000 people with addictions, severe mental illnesses, several hundred of which we're convinced by the body of research are a danger to themselves and society, and they don't have treatment, they don't have a long-term care bed option because none exist. All of the existing facilities are at their max.
So does this mean the Health Ministry needs to create and then fund the solution? Minister Terry Lake has responded to Robertson and Chu. You have a listen and see if he's actually answered their plea for help.
We understand the concerns. We share those concerns, and that's why we are working to try to, number one, understand the problem and what solutions to that problem would look like. Already we spend $1.3 billion on mental health and substance use around the province of British Columbia, and we have some novel new ways of reaching out into the community. But clearly we need to look at this particular situation and understand how it's different than what we've seen in the past.
All righty, sounds like we need some new ideas. And for some perspective on this, we're joined in studio by Inspector Ralph Pauw of the Vancouver Police Department, Assertive Community Treatment, or ACT. That's the team you lead. And Darrell Burnham, he's the Executive Director of Coast Mental Health. Thank you both for being here on this Friday night. Inspector Pauw, you're down on the front lines. Your team is down on the front lines. What do you see on a daily basis on Vancouver streets?
Well, we see a great deal of people that need assistance. We see people every day that we apprehend under the Mental Health Act. We apprehend approximately 6 people a day. We take them to hospital because they're in need of care, and we see them coming back out onto the streets, sometimes within hours, sometimes after a few days. But something more needs to be done long term to help mitigate the revolving door of these individuals.
Tell me, the Mental Health Act, the provision under which you can arrest those people, essentially, what does that provide for? What does that allow you to do?
Well, we're allowed to apprehend these people. So if they're a danger to themselves or others, we have the authority under Section 28 of the Mental Health Act to apprehend them and take them to a designated facility, so in Vancouver, a hospital, where they're seen by a physician. First, they're medically cleared in case that their symptoms are as a result of a medical issue, and once they're cleared through that, then they go through the process of seeing a psychiatrist.
Mm-hmm. And then do they typically just get sent back out the door of the hospital?
Well, on occasion, yes. Sometimes before we're finished writing the report, an assessment is made that the individual is free to go, and other times they're stabilized after 2 or 3 days.
Does a police officer have to stay with them at all for a period of time at the hospital?
Yes. So our wait times, and we always have 2 officers when we apprehend somebody. So we have 2 officers waiting in the hospital ER. Several years ago, we were at about 68 minutes on average wait time, and now we're down about 57.5. So that's a great savings, and we've done that through partnership with our partners at Coastal Health and Providence Health.
Mm-hmm. But that's still officers' time dealing with individuals who aren't causing problems in a legal sense, but need mental health help.
That's right, and as a matter of fact, in 2012, all apprehensions alone accounted for 21,000 policing hours.
That's insane. Now, Darrell Burnham, is there an easy answer to this?
It's a complex answer because of many people's path to recovery are different, and people's interest in recovery is different. I must take a little bit of issue because what I see around are really, we work with hundreds of people who are working hard in their recovery and doing really well. And so actually the categorization that there's a crisis with people with mental illness is way too general. Actually, there's a very small number of people who are falling through the cracks. And with a large city of Vancouver, there are a small number of people, and they do need specialized support.
Mm-hmm. But that small number of people can literally become an entire news story and an issue. Just last night, we were talking to the Abbotsford Mayor, Bruce Bannum, about the homeless issue in his community, and it's literally 5 people in that homeless camp. But he also thinks that the solution is going to be a group effort. Have a listen.
In order to really get a solution to this, we need to have the province help. We need to have the federal government help. The city is working with faith-based groups. We need to have charitable organizations help. We all have to pitch in and do something.
Okay, so all I'm hearing is everybody says we need everybody's help, but I haven't heard anybody come up with, all right, provincial government, you do this, federal government, you do this, and we can resolve this. Is this simply an issue that's not resolvable?
No, I think that actually there's more investment is needed. And I think that's the message I heard from the VPD. More investment is needed to help with the most seriously mentally ill and substance abuse, and particularly the substance abuse side, because that seems to be a triggering factor, to actually help them in recovery and stabilize and keep them safe.
More investment.
More investment.
We heard Terry Lake say $1.3 billion is spent every year. How much more?
I don't know. That's for them to figure out. But if they're looking at 300 beds, if that's a capacity in the city of Vancouver, it's not overwhelming numbers.
Mm-hmm. Is beds the answer? I mean, to me, beds is a place you go for a few days, maybe a couple of weeks. That doesn't seem to resolve the issue.
Well, one of the asks is 300 long-term beds in a secure facility. There are a small segment of the mental health population that really do need to be institutionalized. That is not just the opinion of the Vancouver Police, but it's the opinion of physicians that I talk to every single day. But is putting people in a facility the only answer? No, it is one answer. And ACT teams really only is one solution. We need more frontline interaction with people with mental illness. What we're proposing as well is to partner up a police officer with a registered nurse, to be very assertive in going into the community and following up when somebody is released from hospital. And when we talk about these violent incidents, we're only talking about a small segment of the mentally ill. Mm-hmm. We don't want to stigmatize the entire population, but the small percentage really are responsible for these violent acts that really has caught everybody's attention, and it is a crisis. Mm-hmm.
Well, as Darrell mentioned, there are a lot of people who are working on recovery and staying on medication and doing fairly well.
And there's many people in that population who want to, but they need actually the specialized resources to help them move that along that path.
Is one of the issues, because you mentioned it or alluded to it earlier, is actually wanting to be in recovery?
Yes.
That's one of the big issues, isn't it?
And actually, in terms of recovery, and we talked, you had an addiction or a segment earlier, in recovery there's that opportunity. And right now, if someone's interested, is there available detox? Is there support systems for people who need that time to recover? We operated a program on Riverview grounds, very successful in partnership with the Burnaby Centre, that closed last year. It was not because it was not lack of success, because of funding. But what we found is that people need 2 to 4 to 5 years in that kind of recovery-oriented program to actually move forward.
Do you want that reopened?
Absolutely.
Who needs to do that?
It's the province.
Ask them right now.
Province needs to act and look at that and look at ways to actually create some smaller facilities that actually can respond to the special needs of the clients.
All right, Darrell Burnham and Inspector Ralph Pauw of the Vancouver Police, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
We hope this gets resolved at some point in the not too distant future. All right, still ahead, construction projects are clogging up downtown Vancouver. Why do they seem to happen at one of the busiest times of the year? And later, the fuss over smart meters. Has BC Hydro gone back on its word? That's on the other side of the break.